I was supposed to have a call with him. I think it's next week.
Okay. All right. So we're almost streaming. I'll get things recording. Okay, cool. Well, everyone out there on the interwebs, on Facebook and YouTube, welcome to another session of the lovely business podcast Mastermind. This is a podcast mastermind that was started by a few talented friends in the business and podcasting space, and then we expanded to create a weekly event where a wider audience can join. I'll give an intro to Henry Lopez, even though he's not here, myself, as well as Mark Hayward, who you see. Henry Lopez is a serial entrepreneur, small business coach, host of the top-rated How Business podcast, dedicated to helping others start, run, and grow their small businesses. He seems to be away this week. Mark Hayward's here. He's a business coach who helps turn ideas into businesses and also helps businesses grow. He's the host of the Absolute Business Mindset podcast, and he also runs a training program for people who want to get into podcasting. And my name is Ethan Janney, and my currently rapidly growing business and podcast is the Edge of Company, which is It's a media. It's a event, and it's a tech company, all wrapped into one. We have a podcast, which is top 50 in the tech space, called Edge of NFT. We have a convention in Los Angeles coming up in March, the 28th to the 30th, which features speakers like Mark Cuban and Neil Strauss. And in addition to that, we're also working on some technology developments, which we will update people about later. But today we're here to talk about podcasting, or whatever Mark and I decide we want to talk about today.
Well, first things, Ethan, for your
go ahead.
For your event, do you want to come on my podcast and promote your event and have that?
Sure, man.
Get some more people interested, different people open to it. So let's try and get that in the next week, or this week's a bit of a struggle, but maybe next week or the week after. Yeah, and then tell me when you're when you want it promoted, and I can sort of jig it around my timeframes to get your release at a time which will be impactful for you as well.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds great.
Let's do that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Do you know one thing I'm doing, which I've started, and we've actually got the first release on Wednesday? We're actually we actually built an email list, and we're going to do it manually first of all. But if it works out and I start getting traction, or people give me feedback, which is good, we'll systemize it. But yeah, we've created an email list. I've chosen guests on my podcast previously, and some people that I've had business relationships with or interactions with, and sort of use that as I know GDPR. I'm going to get myself in trouble here. You need to get approval, but I kind of think if people have engaged with me or have worked with me, I think you get round that point. So I'm going to start that, which my assistant's been writing, and actually he's been doing quite a good job. And we're going to do 1 week Absolute Business Mindset podcast, the other week podcast introduction group, the guest business, and we're going to alternate sending one every week, one for the podcast and one for the business. And we're trying to add a bit of content, add a bit of value for people and things to do with podcast and podcasting. And I think it'll be interesting, because I think it's something that I've thought about for a while, but just never really had the time. But now with the assistant, he's bringing quite a lot of value in certain areas, and he's doing well. And so we thought we'd just throw out a couple of very basics, like we're not going to use MailChimp or any of those providers initially. We're literally going to do a copy and paste. I've got all the list of names just to trial it. I'm all for the marketing, and just trial it for a while, see if we get some reaction. If we do, then great, keep doing it, and then probably systemize it. But what's your experience on email lists?
Oh, I've got quite a broad swath at this point for different projects. My most successful, I think, independently managing an email list has been the Piano Technicians Masterclasses project.
Yeah, right.
And for that one, when I first heard about this idea, of like you email people often, like you email them like once a week or
Yeah.
twice a week or sometimes every day, depending on what you want to talk about.
Mm.
I wrap my head around why you want to do that, and I did that with this list. You know,
Mm.
not all the time was it like an every day, every week kind of thing, but it's a few emails that go out a week, and just it's been an interesting exploration, sort of just getting into that mindset of people might want that messages that
Mm.
often, first of all, and it becomes a conversation that you're having. You're always adding some value, and you're not
Yeah.
always, you're selling something, but it's not always. It's just sort of like, oh yeah, by the way, you and I have a great relationship, but of course, remember, yeah, we've got this or we've got that.
Yeah.
We're just keeping in touch, though.
Yeah.
Um, so that's been that, and then we have a newsletter, more of a newsletter, which it feels less of a relationship, more of a like a magazine or whatever you
Yeah.
might want to call it, like a
Yeah.
publication that we do now with Edge of NFT. That has its own traction and its own growth. Um, and But I do like, I ever since I happened upon this philosophy of it's really less of like this sort of impersonal newsletter, and it's
Mm.
more about sort of building a very personal relationship that feels like one-on-one, even though it might go to multiple people.
Yeah.
It's been an interesting journey.
Yeah, I think so. My aim is for the podcast one is to sort of add value regarding training and sort of business, more business stuff, and then share a couple of episodes on the list. And I think I'm gonna give my email address out, and people can directly contact me if they've got questions. And then the guest business is going to be a bit more on trend on what it is to be a guest and how to add value and what you can do to make yourself the best guest. It'll be interesting to see if we get a lot of traction. A couple of my friends have done this with mixed response. One person says it's doing really well. She's a coach, and she said, look, I'm getting really good traction, people asking questions, interacting with me about my content. The other one is she's a mediator, and she sells courses through using this method, and she's heavy on LinkedIn, doing lots of lives at the moment on LinkedIn, and but she says the email list is not shown as much potential as she'd perhaps hoped, but so yeah, I'm gonna trial it. We'll do one a month alternate on the business and the podcast, see what sort of traction we get. I'm happy to systemize it and create an email list and just send it, but I thought instead of spending whatever it is, $15 a month on MailChimp or one of the other versions of that, it'd be better just test it for a bit and then see what happens. And so that's an experiment we're going to do. The other thing that's been I've got another assistant. I managed to get two out of the government.
Nice.
I think he's starting on Thursday. Interesting because he has no hopefully he's not watching this. He doesn't have the skill set in the sense of he's had no experience. His experience is catering and various private shopper and all this sort of stuff. But he talked quite knowledgeably about social media, making yourself sort of omnipresent on lots of different social media platforms. And he sort of said, look, this is something I think I can do. I'm on social media all the time. He's about 18 or 19. So I've kind of taken him on as well, with the expectation of to raise my social media platform sort of game a bit. And yeah, I post my podcasts on social media and I do a little bit of property stuff on Facebook groups, but I release the podcast on Insta, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. But yeah, what I'm hoping is that he'll be able to pick out some of the interview stuff, and perhaps I'll do some solo stuff as well, and then cut and snip it and put it on TikTok and put it on Instagram and make a more yeah, sort of omnipresent. That I'm on each platform maybe once a day or maybe even twice a day. We'll have to work out the regularity. It depends on how he's able to edit the content. I'm very happy for it to be the interview and just sort of take little snippets a minute or whatever for Insta or something like that, just to see what sort of traction we get. So we'll see about that, because that again, I do see the importance of social media. I definitely see the value that you can add there. Again, it's just time. You don't always have enough time to create from an hour long episode into like 8 snips for Instagram, 8 for LinkedIn, and 8 for Facebook and stuff. So yeah, we'll see. So as I say, we're first day is Thursday. I've got a morning with him just to sort of sound him out and see how the land lies. I don't know. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't work, but
Have you heard about Fireside?
I have. Yes.
Have they been emailing you directly? I've gotten some emails
Yes.
directly. Yeah,
Yeah.
they somehow have like every podcaster's email address, which will tell you about the value of just sending people emails. It's
Yeah.
unsolicited.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But that's Mark Cuban's on that
Yeah.
project, and we're gonna utilize it for his session on the convention. I still actually haven't been able to have the time to explore it more, but I think the promise of that is being able to sort of take your video audio recordings and get them to multiple platforms, multiple
Right.
sort of segments of content in different
I'm seeing
places.
a lot of
So
the adverts talking about how to have great video content and great audio for podcasting, and but I haven't actually looked at the website to see what they're offering. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see, because yeah, there's lots of these sorts of things popping up with different services that you can provide and make it better. And actually my video recorder is broken, and so I need to invest in a new camera. So I'm looking at sort of and that's why maybe something like Fireside that sort of tidies it up. And the starter program is only $9 a month, which is not loads, is it? $19 for unlimited podcasts is a standard one, and then $49 for the professional. So yeah, it might be something to look into. It does support my hosting platform, which is good. Um, yeah, yeah, we'll
yeah, we'll
see.
have to look. I'm going to have to learn a little bit about it in the coming weeks, so I'll let you know what I
Okay,
find out.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether it is actually worth the cost to actually get that high quality, because they're almost saying that you do a recording and then the quality sound and everything is amazing. Something that I've been using a bit, but I'm starting to use their paid services, Euphonic. Do you know Euphonic?
I do use that a little bit, yeah.
So I'm using that and finding a huge amounts of difference on the sound quality, because sometimes the sound quality of guests' microphones are not the same as mine, or one's quieter and one's louder. So
Yeah.
using that now on my extended ones as well, because making a big difference. The sound quality, I think, is a lot better. It takes out all the sound, the noise and hum, and sort of cleans it all up for you. I found that really useful.
Yeah. Yeah, we used it a little bit in the beginning when we were doing our own editing for the Run With It podcast.
Right.
And then I think we might have still used it even when had an editor. Maybe we used it for the first draft or the final draft. And then lately we use Podetize for our podcast editing, but every once in a while I have to edit something and I need a quick turnaround.
Right.
And I find it useful to, just feed it in there and have it do some automated processing, especially if there's multiple tracks.
Yeah.
You know what? I have a question for you.
Mm.
Do you do Zoom recordings for your podcast?
Yeah.
Do you run into this thing where the individual audio tracks get like, whenever somebody's muting themselves, it just truncates it? Do you get that?
No,
No?
it works fine.
I don't know what to do about this because I don't know if it's a setting or maybe you just the way you do it is different. So basically, when I get the individual tracks for a
Yeah,
Zoom meeting,
yeah,
let's say I'm talking from 5 minutes to 10 minutes,
yeah,
and then let's say I mute myself
yeah,
for 5 minutes. Zoom will get rid of that entire 5 minutes, and they will only give me the audio when I start talking again. Well, the problem with that is then when I try to take those individual tracks and
yeah.
align them, I got to go back and like insert all these silences, so that they line up. You don't get that?
Oh
You don't
no, I
have
don't
that?
have any problem with that. There must be a setting on Zoom. On when you set up a meeting, is it a setting on there that you need to
I'm
go
gonna
in?
have to investigate because I thought if that's something they always do, like, geez, like everybody must do all this extra work, right?
Yeah, no,
So
I don't
maybe
have
it's a
that. I
setting.
don't have
Maybe
that
it's a
problem.
setting.
It just separates them. It's nice and easy.
Hmm. That's
Um,
yeah. That's what I
so
thought it
I do have
used
a
to
look in there.
do. I
But
feel like it
to be
used to do
honest,
that for me, and then one day it stopped doing it.
I don't know. Like I know people have talked StreamYard. Everyone is not everyone. A couple of people have said to me that they use StreamYard and they use it for their live because you can live on LinkedIn on StreamYard, and that's what some people are doing, which I'm finding quite helpful. Um, I'm not
What
using.
about Twitter Spaces? Have you been doing that at all?
Mm, no, I saw a few of these things, and to be honest, the subjects are not massively interesting me very much. I have been on Clubhouse a little bit again,
Yeah.
um, picking that up every so often. And I was in a group on Thursday evenings, and then it sort of fizzled out. But I found going in every so often, you don't always have the numbers are significantly lower than they were when it all kicked off in 2020 or
Right. Yeah.
2021. Like it's significantly less, but it's a nice little audience. I'm sort of wondering, um, like, because I'm now live streaming my interviews on Facebook through Zoom, which is
Hmm.
working out quite nicely because people are sort of heads up. I'm not doing YouTube because I'm releasing YouTube content anyway, so I kind of not. I'm trying to focus on YouTube on the other content, but yeah, I know people use StreamYard for their podcast as well, and they find it quite easy to use. But to be honest, the convenience of Zoom, just because I can use it for a chat, what we're doing now, or on a call with a business partner, or just having that Zoom account definitely makes a huge difference for convenience. And I don't like Teams. I don't like Microsoft Teams. I think it's, although it's a free version, it's
What about
clunky a bit.
what about Riverside? Have you tried that?
No, the other
Have
one
you
I've
heard of it?
used is, yes, I have. The other one I used at work was Google. It used to be Hangouts. I can't remember. Is it Google
Right.
Meet now?
Yeah.
The sound quality on that is shocking, or it was when I was using it. Whether they've made it better now, I assume they've had to make it better with everyone using these platforms. But yeah, people like business people that I work with, it's either Zoom or Teams they're using.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Riverside is not bad. Riverside is another one that gives you a lot higher quality
okay,
when you get the output, like a higher quality video, higher quality audio.
right.
Um, so I've tried that a few times, but it's never stuck. We might move to that soon. We'll see.
What's your view on Poditize now you've been using it for a few months?
It's works for us. It works for what we need. It's fine. I'll tell you, to be fully honest, let's see. We're signed up for the plan where they, you give them the raw audio, they edit the podcast, they put up a blog post for it, and then they're supposed to give us social media assets
Yeah,
and video clips, just a
right.
few video clips.
Yeah,
And I think that's everything that encompasses. They post the blog post for you and stuff like that. They'll even publish it for you. So, but I don't have them publish it because I like to really review what they have and then I publish it on my own time. And they
right.
don't we have a very tight turnaround schedule. And the way their software is set up it's not set up to understand a tight turnaround schedule. So
Right.
like in order for them to move faster, I have to choose a publication date that is not the actual publication date. I have to choose a date that's earlier.
Right.
Then they'll turn the episode around for us, but it's not, I don't want it published right away because I need to
Yeah.
review it. So it's just like this weird game dance I have to play with what their system's like and what I have to do. Um, and then again, to be fully honest, there's some things that they offer with our package that we have decided not to take advantage of because
Like what?
they could be good enough for most people, but we have better access to like social media posts. Like they created these images where it was like, yeah, that's okay, but like we can do better. So
Right.
we
Right.
do ours, and then we have them do extra for the video editing stuff, I think.
Right.
So it's a trade-off, but they've been very reasonable about working with us. I'm very impressed with just the amount that they give you for the
Mm.
amount that you have to pay.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's been working out pretty well.
The other thing that's happened, which I haven't talked to you about, is someone in my network asked if I would, if they could outsource their podcast to me.
Like you produce it for them.
So I produce it. So what we've agreed, and I did a document which said stuff you do, stuff I do, stuff you do. So what we've decided is they'll do all the prep and do the recording, send it over to me. I'll edit it. I will post produce it. I will then publish it, and I'll do show notes, like very standardized show notes. And then they do the social media stuff. I don't want to get into the social media stuff. It would just take too long. So I was like, look, they said, oh, don't worry, we've got a marketing team that can do that. So
cool.
Trained her a couple of weeks ago. She's wants to start her release on the 15th of February. So I'm going to reach out to her. Well, we messaged today. She didn't say anything about that. She was just paying the invoice and stuff. But it'll be interesting to see like whether that's something, if it works out, whether that's a little something that was basically what the guy was doing last week, wasn't it? Or 2 weeks ago, what he was doing. So it was interesting to see what they do and how they structure it. And it was very close to what I'd thought myself and what I'd presented.
But you're not going to do the white labeling through them. You're going to do it yourself. Yeah.
No, I'm going to do it myself.
It was interesting that they had that option. I forgot about that.
So yeah. So I'm going to see what that's like. I've estimated 3 hours per podcast for what I need to do. And I kind of think that probably, because she's thinking it'll be a 20-minute episode, maybe a 30-minute episode. So, but what I've done is what my video editor did for me when he was producing some content for me was I've said it's flexible. If it only takes me 2 hours, it takes me 2 hours at my rate. Or if it takes me 4 hours, it takes me 4 hours. I decided that I wouldn't give her a flat rate because I just wanted it to be flexible. Because on my pricing, actually, ironically, was very close to what the guy did 2 weeks ago in pounds versus dollars. And I know they sort of said they did it per minute of content rather than actual work. So I kind of thought, is that going to undercut me, or is that going to increase my? And I kind of thought that it probably was going to undercut me. So I decided to give her a flexible rate depending on how long each of them takes. If she does it in one take, and it's 20 minutes, it's not going to take me that long to edit any issues out and just post produce it. That it's all just very simple. I told her to get an account on Euphonic as well for the stabilization of it, and then I'll have her account on the hosting platform. I'll release it, and then the show notes. I've actually borrowed their style of show notes, which is a little bit easier to sort of to produce. So yeah, it'll be interesting because she said, "Oh, I might have."
When you say borrow their style of show notes, what do you mean?
So they do a paragraph or two, just a sort of 6-7 lines of summary of the program, and then timestamp different sections of it depending on the conversation. So
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was actually quite useful. I thought it was a compelling case for him when he said that if you're listening, especially for an hour-long episode, and you've got to stop because of whatever reason, to actually look at where the next part or the part that you were at through this time stamping on the show notes. I thought something I wasn't using myself, and I thought, oh, actually, that's quite useful, especially for mine, because it's like a 50-minute to an hour-long episode. If people want to cut in and cut out, it could be quite difficult for people to stop listening, do something else, and then come back to it and know where they were starting from. So, and also it gives people the option, if they're not interested by that particular part of the conversation, they can fast forward to, because I know people have said to me that, because I talk about people's journey and how they got to success point, which is invariably where they are now. And some people don't care about their education or their experience. They just want to know about the business that they're in at the moment. So actually putting that sort of timestamp as well was actually quite good. And I'm lots of other podcasts do it. It was just not something I thought of that I thought would be quite useful. But actually, as I said, when I spoke to that guy, when we spoke to the guy last couple of weeks ago, I thought it was really compelling to have those timestamps in the show notes as well.
Yeah, it was interesting what they were doing. It was cool. I thought it was a good guest. Interesting, the connection with Travis Chappell and all that side of things too. Yeah. Hopefully we'll get Holly on. We got a message from Holly. She's sick apparently.
Okay.
She got some
Who
sort
is
of
Holly?
virus or something. She was our guest for today. Let's see here.
What did she do?
I fell ill with food poisoning and neglected to double check my calendar. So I'll read her bio twice. I guess I'll read it today and next time she comes.
Okay.
Holly has created content for Auberge Resorts, block recruiting, and also on many social media platforms. She has also tackled topics like company culture and starting a podcast in short form, published articles as a recurring writer for Medium and Rev Genius magazine. Additionally, she has The Tables Turn and has been a podcast guest as well. Her background has been in corporate hospitality, trade shows, and marketing. She is best described as a Swiss Army knife in business. Currently building podcasts for business and individuals. Holly may even start a couple of other podcasts because she's curious about many topics, and hopefully getting on other podcasts through her book. Oh, she's got a book, Zero to Podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds cool.
Yeah. So that's what we're missing. But hopefully Pooja, you'll reach out. Pooja's always listening in on us. Hopefully Pooja, you'll reach out.
Doesn't say anything, but she's always listening. It's like Alexa.
Really? She's listening very carefully too. I asked her the other day, like, what do you like? What do you like? Just doing a crossword puzzle and it's on the background, and she's like watching, she's taking notes, all kind of things, But anyways, yeah, I'll tell you this too. I've been thinking about different directions to go with this group, as I have been too for a while. It's interesting to think about the potential. And one thing that I think might be interesting direction to take it is kind of moving more towards this concept of, you have podcasts, but you kind of have this whole new world of audio content that's really emerging, and maybe we expand and focusing on this topic of what are all of the leverage points that you can take within this universe, and talk about Twitter Spaces and talk about Clubhouse and talk about, I don't know, other places where you have the voice. We could talk about, even talk about things like Discord channels where you can go in there and you could have Discord, audio things going on.
Because one of the things I've asked one of my assistants to do is to make himself present on forums and Facebook groups, whatever, just to sort of talk about our podcast and the stuff that he does. And he found Discord, and actually I downloaded it, but I didn't find it particularly easy. It was very much what I saw on the app was creating your own group in your space.
Mm-hmm.
And then I assume you then get interested people, but it wasn't very easy for me, like to find your Edge of NFT on Discord. It wasn't easy. Oh,
Yeah,
you put the link in.
I'll put
Okay.
the link in there so you can join it. But yeah, you mean like to search for it or find it. It's
Yeah.
not like it's like SEO friendly. Yeah, it's not very SEO friendly. It's not one of those things where you like find Discord channels by searching online. It's much more a thing where you find a thing that you like and then you see that they have a Discord channel and then you go check that out and then you get
Okay.
involved in that community. But that's a good point, you know. It could be something that's a little bit more sort of easily found. Um, but yeah, actually, I can tell you, we've been really pushing and doing interesting things in the Discord channel, and it's actually been really fun lately. Um, so a couple of things. One, we have some gamification in there, which is
Okay.
actually really cool. So
Yeah.
basically, as you engage, you know, you make comments, you respond to other people's posts, you know, you put a little like thing on people's things. Um, Ask questions, whatever. Every time you do something in there, actually get points, and you can
Okay.
move up in this leaderboard as sort of like a star member of the community. And beyond that, I went ahead and created this thing which is called a POAP NFT, which is a proof of attendance protocol, which is kind
Okay.
of used as a very simple um, like a reward badge, you know,
Yeah.
and you can only, you know, you can have a limited number of them and you can only give them out to select people. And then it's very easy, you can't fake it very easily. And so it's easy
Okay.
for people to then sort of like establish their reputation as like a, you know, a star community member or like a really supportive member of a community or and almost like an expert in a field because they've participated in all these different things. So I created a POAP NFT. When people reach level 6 in the Discord by a certain date, by today actually, they can get this NFT, which is our
Okay.
first one, our first POAP NFT that we've created. So, and then when people have those, you could use those to like reward them for other things. So you proved that you reached this level.
Yeah.
Now we can put you in a private channel, or we can
Okay.
have a special event where only you can attend, or stuff like that. That's really cool.
How many
And then
people have you got in your Discord?
so the number in there right now is like, I think we might have passed 600, if
Wow,
not
that's
the
great.
high 500s. And then, but getting the numbers in there in one is one thing, but the other thing is getting the engagement
Interaction.
and the activity in there.
Yeah, yeah.
So we've been hovering around 300 or 400 for the past month or two.
Okay.
But just in the past month or a couple weeks, the engagement has really started to pick up.
Okay,
And
great.
I've been putting in time. We've been doing the gamification stuff. We just added a trivia bot, which is kind of fun. So like you don't have to know anything about NFTs. You could just be curious or you just want to hang out.
Yeah.
We're doing our first trivia night on Tuesday night. You'll
Oh,
probably
nice.
be asleep or something. It's like it's
Yeah.
like 8 p.m. Central Time.
Oh,
So
yeah. I
that's
can't do
like
that.
6 hours from now. I'm sure you'll be fast asleep.
Yeah, I'll be asleep.
But
But you got growfaster.com NFT tree?
that needs to be updated. That's
Okay.
sort of like a placeholder website, to be honest. And we went through some sort of growth phase of the Discord, and it just happens to be still linked there, which is
Okay.
it needs to be edited, to be honest. Yeah. But yeah, that's like the draft of the website for the NFT project.
Okay, so you got 669 invites.
Hmm.
I'm just looking at it now. And you got giveaways. Yeah. Oh, I'll have a look at it. I'll have more of a look at it and a play around with it. Because as you say, especially for your podcast being tech focused, it's a really good place, isn't it? It's where
Well,
people
we almost had to get in there. Like it was
yeah,
almost like essential. That it was kind of weird that we were not in there.
yeah.
And the problem is none of us were really versed in it, and so I've had to take the reins and like become more of a Discord specialist.
Okay.
But yeah, totally. It is very appropriate.
Yeah.
But that
Okay.
having been said, I think, you know, Discord of course, it's a growing business like anything else. So they're going to grow and change, and they're going to appeal to different audiences.
Yeah.
Yes, they might have started, by appealing to gamers and things like that, but every indication for me is that they're going to start to go more mainstream, and it's going to be a place where people are going to start to interact more. And the reason I think that is because it's a lot around what I just said is people can get rewarded for their engagement in
Mm,
there, and
mm.
you can really
It
build a community a lot different than you can in like a Facebook group.
it looks a bit like it's not like Slack, but it's kind of using the same sort of ethos of Slack, which
Hmm.
tech guys use. A lot of developers use
Yes.
Slack as a platform where you can share information in a protected way, and
Hmm.
it looks a bit like that sort of style of
Hmm.
information providing and sharing and interacting and talking about what's going on at the moment. So
Yeah. And they both have like channels, right? Slack
yeah,
has channels, Discord has channels, and so you can you can sort of segregate what you want to talk about. You want to talk about general topics,
yeah,
if you want to talk about something that's a little bit, you don't want to cloud up this conversation with that topic, so you can
yeah.
jump in the different channels. Yeah.
And it really does well for niches, doesn't it? Anything niche, if you can find a small audience. But as we said before, small audiences, if they're interactive and they're engaging with you, they're actually sometimes more powerful than loads of people who just log in and register and never then interact.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I said, I mean, we just like right now, I mean, what's really cool is you can actually see it. If you go in, I don't know if you're in there or not,
Yeah,
but
I'm
if
in
you
there
go in
now.
there
Yeah,
and you type /leaderboard, you will see who the most active people are. And those over the past several weeks, we've had these people emerge as like, just kind of engaged community members. And
yeah,
so even though we have like, you know, 600 people that are actual members in there, could be somewhere between 15 and 20 that are actually hopping in there and starting conversations and
yeah,
engaging and interacting. But the interesting thing about that is the way that I see it is as we build that engagement, interaction, community support organically among 10 to 15 people, the
mm,
rest of the people that are in the group but not engaging, they start to see what's going on and they start to participate.
yeah,
And that's something I've seen too, like people coming in, like you can earn coins in our Discord server, and the
mm,
coins really have yet to be determined what they'll be used for. But we do plan on using them to reward people. Like that
right,
basically means they've been hanging out in the Discord channel. So I'll see people who basically they just jump in and they start collecting the coins, but they're not talking to anybody. They're not
right,
engaging. They're not having a conversation. And I'll say, oh hey, like I see you're here, you're doing stuff. What's going on? And then they start to engage and like
yeah,
kind of make friends. But the coolest thing that I've seen is like people that have only been in there for like a few days together, knowing each other, maybe a week. They're already starting to help each other with stuff
nice,
like
yeah, yeah,
offline, like going and like one guy had an NFT collection he's releasing, and another guy was helping him test the payment gateway or something,
mm,
and
mm, mm.
uh, so that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And
Yeah.
that's not something that you get as easily out of like Twitter or like maybe a Facebook group a little
Some
bit. You can
Facebook
get that
groups
kind of
can be
stuff.
quite powerful, but they changed the algorithm about 6, 7, 8, 9 months ago, and it kind of changed the reach that you could get on Facebook groups. It wasn't quite as powerful on releasing content. So I know a lot of people got a bit miffed with Facebook doing that
Yeah.
because they felt it was
Facebook is
like,
just annoying too, how much they like artificially limit you for things where it's
yeah,
just like, oh my God, I just want to use this thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. It's oh yeah, it's not my favorite platform, but it's definitely um yeah, from awareness point of view, just because you hit people that like from my people that are on my Facebook versus on LinkedIn, there are two different types of people that I've got there. So there is crossover on some of them, but just for exposure, it's kind of helps Facebook as well, just it goes to a much larger number. Although, to be honest, my LinkedIn numbers, I've probably got coming up to about 3,000 people on LinkedIn that I've collected over the last sort of 15 years.
Mm.
Some not so relevant now than they were, but still quite useful. So yeah, for me personally, from a professional and business side, LinkedIn is still a powerful tool for me that can't be neglected. The biggest problem with that is lives are not easy to do unless you've got a StreamYard or you've got something else where you can do it very easily on Facebook. So but yeah, you just have to try these things, and it sounds like your Discord is working very well for you. And
Thank goodness, because yeah, it seemed very foreign for quite a while. But yeah, it's, the cool thing about it is it's a lot of, I think, developers use it for various things, right? So you can create all these cool integrations. So like I'm just experimenting with it now, but there's an integration where if you have a certain NFT, then you can access this channel. If you don't have that NFT, you can't even see that channel.
Oh wow.
Right?
Okay.
And you can program in things like that relatively quickly and easily. And then the bots, there's all kinds of bots. And there's bots that do stupid things that you don't want. But again, like a trivia bot, a bot that keeps track of, points and who's engaging and who's participating. So yeah,
So
that
there's
stuff
lots
is
of
pretty.
plugins that you can use for different
Yeah,
things.
and of course you could, not that you or I would do that because we don't have the time or necessarily the expertise, but you can program your own thing. Oh, hey, like I want in Discord, I want this to happen, and I want
Yeah.
this to be automated and reward these points and do this and show this image or whatever. You can program that stuff on your own, and I don't think that's as easy in some of these other platforms. Like, Slack has some things like that, but I think it's a little bit easier to do in a Discord.
One last quick question before we finish, because I do need to finish. But what's your thoughts on posting on social media, solo stuff as well as interviews? I don't necessarily see you particularly active on doing sort of like solo stuff, whether it's about NFT or whether about business or about business ideas. What's your thoughts on that sort of solo angle?
I mean, I think it just depends on the creator and if you're getting an ROI on that. I have done solo posting stuff. To be honest, right now, the amount of I can do it. A lot of people are actually like intimidated to like do a post like, oh, it's just me and a camera and I'm gonna say XYZ, like, and everybody's gonna see it. I'm not as intimidated by it, but I do get I noticed I get kind of stressed out by it. Just having to like what am I gonna say?
Content. Yeah, this is the thing.
I do it, but I feel like it puts too much cortisol in my bloodstream to make it worth it,
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's just a couple of guys that I sort of follow. They do podcasts and do interviews, and they've really been harnessing and the use of sort of lives and recorded content, just them specifically. And I know
Henry's go for it if you feel
Henry's
comfortable
been doing a couple of
it.
podcasts himself. I've been listening to a few of his on profit and loss and various things. So it's just kind of like could be useful. It's time to prepare, because I wouldn't like my property stuff that I do on my property Facebook group. I just wing it. I just talk about stuff that's going on in my life at the moment. But for more general business stuff, I'd want to prepare for it, and I'd want it to be like quality content. I wouldn't want it to be just me rambling on about what I've been doing the last couple of days. So yeah, I'm just sort of toying with that to get back into that a little bit more and start doing Facebook posts and maybe even YouTube stuff as well. Just do some recordings and publish them and see how that traction works.
I will say this intuitionally, just from the different projects that I've done, solo, group, like whatever, posting on social, I think that I think at least with what we're seeing with the edge of NFT thing, it really helps to um, just go ahead and fully like commit when you do those things to promote them. Like what I
Yeah.
see is if I don't promote it, like if I just put something on Facebook and that's it, right?
There's nothing. Yeah.
It's not, nobody's gonna find it. Facebook doesn't promote that stuff because they want you to pay
Yeah.
for people to find your stuff anyway. So like having organic discovery on like social posts, I think it's really hard to get that. I think most people that are getting higher discovering traffic, you're number one, you're sort of like being strategic about who has an incentive to share and repost that. So for
Mm.
example, if I want my Twitter post to get some exposure, I have a guest on that I know has a Twitter following, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I'll get more exposure from Twitter. Um, and then on top of that too, just like other things like just being really proactive and really, and that again, sometimes I find that hard individually.
Mm.
Go,
Mm.
hey, Mark, I just posted something on Twitter. Just a
Yeah.
favor, go like it and repost it,
Yeah.
would you? Like actually trying to really do a little bit more engineering
Yeah.
that this stuff gets traction and exposure.
Yeah, they
Because I
say the
think
first 24 hours of any post on LinkedIn or Facebook is so critical now. If you can grab attention and get shares,
Mhm.
then it really can, the views can be significant, but it's
Right.
got to be, yeah, as you say, you've got to engineer it slightly to get a group of people to like your post to then get that to a large audience. Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, just something I'm sort of playing with at the moment, because I used to do it on my podcast quite regularly. And then it sort of dropped off and the interview became the main part of the podcast. I'm just wondering whether I should just sort of bite the bullet and start producing a little bit of stuff solo and just sort of see where that goes and
I
see if
say
there
go
is.
for it if you have an inclination, see how it goes. Yeah, maybe it's a
Yeah.
thing for you.
Okay,
Why,
cool.
why not do it?
I'm around next week, I think. Should
Okay,
be. Um,
cool. Me too.
so if Holly comes next week, or if is there another guest or for next week?
Pooja, do we have someone lined up for next week? Maybe we can get Holly to join us next week. I don't know that we have someone else for next week.
Not
No, we
really.
don't have anybody for next week.
Okay,
So
cool.
hopefully it's Holly, and if not, maybe
We'll have
we'll
another session
have
like this.
somebody else. Okay,
Cool.
cool.
All right, great stuff,
All right,
Ethan. Have a nice
catch
day.
you later, man.
Cheers. See you later.
Bye.